welcome to my Carolina homestead. My name is Michelle, and today I'm going to be making homemade flour tortillas. Our children and grandchildren are coming over for dinner tonight to enjoy Taco Tuesday with us, so that is what I'll be preparing for dinner. I'm going to start this recipe off by using 3 cups of flour. I'm going to level those off and put those into the bowl. To the flour, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and I'm going to stir that thoroughly to combine. Now I'm just adding 1/3 cup of a good quality extra virgin olive oil to the center of the flour. I'm just going to make a little well in there and pour that in. And while I'm doing that, I've turned the water on so that it can get warm. I'm going to add 1 cup of warm water on top of that. So I'm just going to use my hand here to combine all the ingredients, and I'm just going to continue to stir those together and turn the bowl until a dough ball forms. This generally takes about 2 minutes. This recipe makes the perfect flour tortillas every time, so I don't deviate from it at all. I've kind of played around with it a little bit, and it's finally perfect. So I use the exact same recipe every time I make them, and they always turn out beautifully. And now I'm just going to cover these, and I'm going to let them rest for at least 15 minutes. I have left them for up to 2 hours and they're still fine, so between 15 minutes and 2 hours. Now I'm just going to dust my countertop with a little bit of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to turn this dough out and kind of roll it into a log so that I can separate it into the individual pieces. I don't want to over knead this dough, so I'm just going to knead it about 5 or 6 times and turn it as I go until the surface is tight. You can roll these tortillas out and separate them with parchment paper and put them in a freezer bag and freeze these. They are good for about 6 months in the freezer. You can also cook them and do the same. I do recommend separating the cooked ones as well, but yeah, you can pull them out and use them as needed. Now I'm just going to give the individual pieces a quick roll and a little flattening out before I start to turn them out on the countertop. So now I'm using my rolling pin, and I'm going to take these pieces and roll them out into tortilla shapes. So I kind of just give them a little roll back and forth, and then a half turn, and then a lot of times I'll have to give it a flip like that when the edges start to curl up. I have used a tortilla press to do this before, but it's just very frustrating for me because they always shrink back. So I always end up having to get the rolling pin out and roll them out by hand anyway. The tortilla press is great for corn tortillas, so that's a totally different flour and texture. But for me and my experience, I recommend just a hand rolling with the rolling pin for the flour tortillas. So again, I just make sure that the surface is floured really well, and then I give a roll forward and a roll back, and then I'll do a half turn with my tortilla, and then I'll do a forward and back roll again, and then I'll give them a flip. When the edges start to turn up, it means that you need to flip it and press it down one more time, and that really gets those gluten strands to develop, and the tortillas stay flat and they don't shrink, and it just makes this job so much more pleasant, and also goes by really quickly too. So here I have 16 tortillas ready to go into the cast iron skillet for Taco Tuesday. I'm going to add extra virgin olive oil to my cast iron skillet and let this pan warm gradually. I want it to get to about a medium heat before I start adding the tortillas. Olive oil does have a low smoke point, so I'm going to make sure that I don't get the pan too hot where it starts to burn that oil. Now the skillet's reached the proper temperature, I'm going to add a tortilla to the skillet and leave it on one side. I'm not going to mess with it until it starts to bubble on the surface. And once I start to see bubbling, then I'm going to give it a little flip. I want to cook these on both sides until I start to see some pockets form and a little bit of color develop where those pockets are. So I have a tortilla warmer over to the right side of the screen there, and I have a damp paper towel in there. And once the tortillas are all cooked up, I will put the tortilla warmer in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and that paper towel will steam them and keep them warm until it's time for dinner. I'm just finishing up the last tortilla before we make our tacos for Taco Tuesday. If you tried this recipe, please let us know how it turned out for you in the comments below. Thank you for stopping by my Carolina homestead today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it out. Hope to see you next time. You guys take care.